Better without the glasses.
Right. Crazy. Okay. So we are officially live on YouTube. I'm going to get out of it so you don't have to hear me. So we're live. So welcome, Rafaela. And how do you say your last name? Cabede?
Cabede.
Cabede.
Yes.
Very good. I butchered it, I'm sure. I'm so excited to have you on the show. I am excited to hear about Mrs. Potato, and I appreciate you, trying to hang on in this crazy world. And the whole point of these shows is to give you guys, small businesses, especially our restaurant friends, some promo. Maybe people who had never heard of you before. So welcome.
Well, Ted, thank you so much for the invitation. And I'm excited to be on the show. Many of my friends have been on the show, and I was just waiting. When is it going to be my turn?
our
Actually,
pizza, our pizza friend, Retro Station, has been on the
yes,
show. I
yes,
love, I love them.
yes. She told me all about you, and she was like, "Oh my God, you got to meet him." I mean, unfortunately, it's not the best of times, but
True.
I do. I mean, I'm very pleased that you are doing this for all the restaurants because it is difficult times and we are all struggling. So I really appreciate it.
Of course. So I want to dive in. People love to hear origin story, like background. So Rafa, tell them a little bit about you, where you're from, and then how you got to this point of Mrs. Potato.
Well, I'm Brazilian and I came to the United States 10 years ago. I was a teacher back there. Nothing, I don't have any culinary background except that I used to cook for my friends, which was kind of a hobby and something that I loved doing for leisure. When I came here, I didn't know much what to do. As all immigrants, I started working at a perfume store. From there, I went to a restaurant, a Brio, over at Millennium Mall. I started as a host, and I fastly climbed up to be a waitress. I think I was a host for about 3 or 4 months, but because of all the Brazilians that were invading Orlando, they needed someone on the floor that could speak Portuguese, and that would be me. So I became a server, and I worked there for 4 years, and that was the first time that I ever went into a commercial kitchen in my life. And
Wow.
yes, for the 4 years that I was there, that was my big school. I was always very curious. I was always very, nosy, not to say. I was like, why are you doing
You're
this? What is
inquisitive.
this? What is that? So it got me. I got to learn a lot of things beyond being a server, from the back of the house perspective. And then all my friends, they used to say, "Oh, you should open a business. You should open a business." And I really had this entrepreneur thing going on. And I said, well, if I am to open a business, it's sure going to be related to food because that's the only thing that I can do and that I can do
But
well.
you just stepped in. You didn't grow up in a, like, your jobs weren't originally in a commercial kitchen.
No, not at all. The first time I ever went into a commercial kitchen restaurant was at Brio working as a server.
Wow. All right. So I love that Brio, by the way. I used to sit at the, when the economy was really good pre 2008. I
Uh-huh.
would sit there and my kids and my wife would all go shop. And I sat at the bar and had some of the best drinks and Bloody Mary. I still have that Bloody Mary recipe from that Brio. That's a great place.
It was a great school. I got to know how Americans did business, which especially in the hospitality business, which is very different from the way that we do business in Brazil. So that was very important when I got to open my business. I didn't struggle as much with the culture differences because I already knew kind of what was expected from me as a business, as and also what to expect from my guests, like giving them a good experience, good food, great smile, appreciate that they're there. I always had that in mind, and I always talked about that with my team. We have to honor that they walk through that door and they're willing to spend their money in here. Look at how many restaurants are there. They could be anywhere, but they are here. So don't ever think that, oh my God, there he comes, you know, oh my God, I have to, you know, serve this table. No, you have to be happy, you know. So these are things that I learned at Brio, and that I took it for life.
All right, so you have to tell me, first of all, yes to that. One of my biggest pet peeves restaurant wise is when I go into a place and I feel like I'm bothering them. And you know it because you've probably experienced it too. You go in, you sit down, there's 3 tables, 10 servers over there, and nobody wants to come and pay attention to you. It seems like you're trouble. And I just can't figure out why the owner would want to create that kind of atmosphere. I guarantee you people are not thinking like that right now, which is a good wake-up call. So tell me about Mrs. Potato. How did you come up with this concept?
Well, so I knew I wanted to open a business. I knew it would be related to food. And all I knew was my food, like Brazilian food. Then it got me thinking, okay, so I'm going to just go into like the steakhouse thing. And I was like, no, there are steakhouses everywhere. Well, rice and beans, there are rice and beans everywhere. So I started kind of like brainstorming our culinary Brazilian culinary cuisine, and thinking what is there, you know, in the market, and what is there not in the market. And then I figured, I was like, you know what? I really miss potatoes, the way that we have potatoes in Brazil. In Brazil, we have a concept, it's called a potato house. Just like you have a pizzeria, you have a donut shop, you have an ice cream parlor. There are potato places, potato houses, which they are all based on potatoes. Usually they are divided. Some of them only do baked potatoes, and some of them only do roasties, which are the stuffed hash browns. So I figure, you know what? I'll just put them both together, and I'll do both, and I'll create a menu that's going to be potato centered. Then I started thinking of a name. I wanted something to be just like you look at the name and you know what it is right there. So I was like, okay. And then I thought of Mr. Potato. At first it was going to be Mr. Potato. So I came up with Mr. Potato. Then I started like drawing the our logo, which was a Mr. Potato head in a chef suit. And when we went to actually print stuff, I looked at it and I was like, you know what? I'm the cook. Why am I going to go Mr. Potato? Now it's going to be Miss Potato. And then I told the guy who was making the drawings, I was like, hey, can you put some lipstick on this potato head, make her more girly? And he was like, sure. So that's how Mrs. Potato was born. We first started over at iDrive, very close to the former Wet and Wild. It was a very small place. It was a kiosk. There was no enclosed space. We had a couple of picnic tables outside. There were about 4 or 5 picnic tables outside. It's right next to the Twisty Treat today. Yeah. There's I think a sandwich shop there. We were there for 7 months. And when I first started, I started getting a lot of Americans in English, and they were all amazed, not by only the concept, but by the size of our dishes. We always worked with giant Idaho potatoes, so they're about 1.2 to 1.4 pounds. So not an ordinary potato that you find at Wendy's, for example. So it's a full meal. We have about 19 different entrees that you can either get on top of your baked potato or inside the hash brown. Our hash brown, it's called the roasty. It's
a roasty. So I've never heard of that, like a hash brown. So it's a stuffed hash brown.
Yes, it's a 7-inch. It's about like that big. It's a 7-inch hash brown. It's stuffed with 19 different entrees. They are all made to order, so you can kind of like customize it. So let's say we have 4 cheese, but you want to add a little bacon to it. You can have your 4 cheese and bacon. So it kind of like suits everybody. We have entrees that from like you can have shrimp. If you're a vegetarian, we have veggie lovers. If you we suit vegans. gluten-free. So it kind of like suits all kinds of crowds. But if you don't eat much, I'm not the right place for you.
Well, you don't usually think of a potato as a meal. Like you think of it as a side. It's you have your steak or whatever you have, and then you've got a side baked potato because they're smaller. But because these are so much larger, you've created this whole meal around them. They are the entree.
Yes, they are the entrees, and together with the protein, they become it's a full meal. You have a potato, and it's your full meal right there. We have entrees like stroganoff, beef stroganoff, chicken stroganoff. There is our most famous one is carne seca, which is it's a cured beef. It's cured by salting the beef and then desalting it, seasoning, cooking it, shredding. It's very similar to hopa veja. If you
Yes.
when you kind of like when you look at it, but there is a different uh, taste profile. It's more it's cured beef, so it's
Love it.
really good.
You're making me starving right now, actually.
Yeah,
Tell me
and
what you're tell me what you're doing. Are you all offering the curbside? Like you're still in operation. That's the number one thing. So you have curbside. How have you? I know it's impacted everybody, but talk a little bit about how you're staying positive, creative, getting the word out that you're still available for
alive.
work.
Yes, what we're doing, we are surviving day after day. I think right now it's a little bit more stable in terms of we know, okay, so now this is where we stand. We are not allowed to have dine-ins. We only do takeouts and deliveries. Okay. The 2 previous weeks, they were the hardest because that's when everything started changing. And it was like in the morning, you wake up, oh, you can't sell alcohol. You go at night, oh, now you are allowed to sell alcohol. Oh, now you only have 50% of your seats. Oh, so
Right.
every day was a new thing. And that was very stressful. And us trying to adapt and trying to come up with solutions, that was the hardest thing. So I was awake like 24/7 thinking I would go to sleep with a problem in my head and then I would wake up and I would like, okay, I got it. I know what I'm gonna do. So I literally thought about the problem during my sleep to come up with a solution. Um, my main concern were my employees, especially my servers. They were they were the first ones to feel first. It started to get slow. Then we had the 50% ban on the seats, and then and they were expecting what is it called, the spring break. They were expecting that so much because usually spring break is busy, and it's where everybody especially the servers make a lot of money. There are a lot of tourists, and that when that didn't happen,
Right.
it was hard to keep them hopeful. I was like, hey, let's go through this, blah blah blah. And then so then when the dining ended, I had a talk to them, and I said, hey, we are going to start offering deliveries, not only to the areas that we already do offer, because we already do offer deliveries on our 4 mile radius. What we did is we started delivering everywhere. And when I say everywhere, I'm talking Devonport, I'm talking Sanford. I mean, I literally went everywhere. And then I got all my servers on board, and I'm like, are you guys on board to make deliveries? And they were like, yes, yes, we're here and we want to work. And I said, okay, so I'm counting on you. I'm going to post everywhere. I'm going to, put the word out there that we are delivering, and that we are delivering to areas that we did not deliver before. Of course, we are not going to charge a delivery charge, but we are going to have a minimum order depending on the location. And most of them went to work, and I said, I just don't know how am I going to do, because I don't know if I can pay you hourly, if I can't, how this is going to work.
Sure. You don't. you don't know, right? I mean, hey, do me a favor, Rafa. Will you, your video is off. Can you turn it back on for?
Yes, I did. I just did. Did it go through?
Oh, good.
Okay.
Uh,
Do we have image? Oh. I have a frozen screen. I don't know if you can hear me. I don't hear anything. Oops. I don't know. Ted? You're back. I see you. Can you see
I'm
me?
back and you disappeared. I don't know what happened. So I'm glad it's still live and still recording because
yes, now you're here. I can see you.
never know. All right. So I know we were talking about delivery. So you've had to make adjustments, right? You've had
Absolutely.
to figure out what to do for your business. How are you staying positive? How are you staying creative during this? Because I know it's a challenge. Every single business owner, restaurateur that I've spoken with, you could get super easily caught up in the negative. And I'm sure it's a challenge, or you can do what you're doing, which is figuring out how to do things differently under the normal. So what are you doing to stay positive?
Well, first of all, I forgot about making a profit, making money. This is not the time to make a profit. This is not the time to make money. This is just a time to minimize your losses. This and help the community. Be there for your team, because when this is over, you need your team with you so you can get back on your feet. And the creative part, most of it comes from wearing others' shoes. Just like putting myself into my customer's position. I'm a mother. I have a 5-year-old who's home. I have a 21-year-old who is in Tallahassee right now. She goes to college, and she went back. Although there's no college, she has been having online classes, and she decided to go back home. So because there she has her own space. So it got me thinking. Me as a mother, what would I like right now for someone to offer? Right. So family meals. So we started offering family meals. Before, we only offered individual meals that would be served at the restaurant. Right now, we offer family meals. Frozen food. Some people, since you have a minimum delivery, some people cannot afford to have $50 delivered food every day. So maybe $50 food right. for a family of 2. That means food for 3 days. Right. So I offered frozen meals as well, so people can stock up and have Mrs. Potato right there in their freezer.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, you just got to be creative, and you just got to think, well, you have to make the adjustments that you can with your menu and with your public's needs. Basically, since I've always served comfort food, It's the perfect meal for you to have at home with a family. It freezes great. It defrosts perfectly. It's just going to be as fresh as it was just made. So I just thought, as a mom, what would I need if I were home and I were quarantined and I were homeschooling? And because right now, this is also another hat that I had to put in. So besides taking care of the restaurant and everything, my daughter would be at school right now, and I would be 100% in the restaurant. And right now, I have to stay home, homeschool her, and while my husband is at the restaurant working, and then I go to the restaurant to work, and then he comes home. And so we all had to make adjustments everywhere in all aspects of our lives.
I love it. Okay, so just before we head out, and we're going to share your contact information, how people can find Mrs. Potato, I have to ask, if you had to choose one of the 19, right? What's your favorite?
My favorite one, well, I'm very simple. My favorite one is ham, cheese, bacon, and onions.
Yum.
Yeah, go with that inside a hash brown. You can't go wrong.
You can't go wrong, and you can't go, your energy's so good. Thank you for being patient during all of the technological issues that are, for the first time ever, not my fault, which is awesome. Mrs. Potato, I tagged you on Facebook. We'll tag you on YouTube. We'll tag you everywhere else. This sounds amazing. I want you guys to try her out. She's got 19 choices. We all love potatoes. Don't worry about your carbs. Seriously, not the time.
I love what I do. I do it with love. I do it with passion. And I just hope that everybody that receives a box from my restaurant receives that love, feels hugged in a time that we can hug no one.
It's beautiful. You're a joy, Rafa. Thank you so much. Rafa with Mrs. Potato. She is Mrs. Potato. Thank you so much. We love you guys out there who are still following in this craziness. Thank you, Rafa, from my heart to yours. Appreciate it. Let's get it out there. Let's celebrate her, guys.
Thank you, Orlando, for the
Thank you. Have a good one. Bye, guys. We'll see you soon.
Bye. Thank you.
Yes. Bye-bye.